Good evening, sports fans. It's Joe and Chaps here on the Friday Night Live. Good to see you all. Really enjoyed it last week, and it was so good we decided to do it twice. So, without further ado, here's my co-host, Chris. Chaps, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Hello, mate. Yeah, really good. Thank you. Very well. Looking forward to the start of the season now. So, yes, it's almost upon us. Well, actually, it is, isn't it? I think the first match kicked off just as we did. How are you, mate?
Right. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Obviously, you're clearly even more happy than I am, for the reason being you're going to the Borough game tomorrow, aren't you? So what time are you setting off early in the morning?
Yeah, setting off around sort of 7 a.m. I'm not sure on the company I'll have in the car, but, you can't always choose that. So,
but no.
Sorry?
Not your missus?
No. I've got the ticket to go though from the missus, which is good. But no,
that's good.
Really looking forward to it. But we'll see how I feel this time in 24 hours, right?
Yeah, because now Micky's going to be joining us in a second. He's a little bit late, sort of tucking into his dinner this evening, so I'm sure he'll be with us in a couple of minutes.
Cheeky little KFC, I reckon.
He's sticking his things up, but he hasn't entered into the studio yet. I can see him behind the curtain. Here he is.
Here he is.
I was being polite. I thought I'd let you bring me in, but no, that's fine.
Mickey, that light is not doing any favours for your head.
No, I know, but it makes me look pretty though.
You look stunning.
It makes me look pretty.
You've got a spotlight on you.
I have.
Yeah.
Is that your syrup in the background as well?
No, it's my No, that's on the side here somewhere, is it? Oh, out there. No.
Oh, yes, from last week. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Someone mentioned that if Mickey wore a wig, he'd probably look younger than me.
Yeah, no.
You're the same age, isn't you?
Yeah. Well, he's a month older than me.
Yeah, he looks it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, definitely. So
Hey, Mickey, you all right? You good?
Yeah, not too bad. Evening, Chris and Michael and everyone else. Evening. This feels old school. It feels really weird, to be fair, doing it with you, Joe, because I remember doing this with Omar back in lockdown, and you used to be on the comment section, and then now, drinking girls' drink, but you're still drinking now. So yeah,
that hasn't changed, is it much?
And yeah, it was one of those. But yeah, no, it's all good. It's all interesting to do. So yeah, we'll see. So Bart's off then, is he? Do you think Bart's going to Ipswich?
I don't know. What's the rumours at the moment? I mean, it's got to be Long or Bart. One's got to go, haven't they? I would have thought. To have three main keepers in our squad this season. What do you think?
Truman.
Sorry, and Truman as well.
Truman as well, yeah.
Yeah, it won't be Truman. Because there was rumour, wasn't there, before that Bart was going to be potentially number 2 at Ipswich. And now that keeper's come unstuck, maybe, but because he still lives out that way, doesn't he?
Who Bart does? Does he really? I don't know for definite, to be honest with you.
I think he does, yeah. We we put together a rough agenda for tonight, so just quickly covering that off. So
before we do that, chaps, just want to ask the group. There's only 12, 13 there at the moment. I'm sure that'll pick up soon. The first question is, what's everyone drinking? So I'm not on the old posh pale ale anymore. I've got the old Corona. Talking about Corona, Mickey.
Hang on. Let's see how much of a girl's blouse you are. Show us inside the bottle.
Show us inside the bottle.
Yeah. Turn it round. So we haven't got the label. Yeah. Where's the fucking lime?
Where's the lime? So, guys, in the chat, what are you drinking? Stick it in there. Hopefully you're having a beer or a G&T. There you go.
Alex is on the not a bad drop. I've stayed true. I'm still not drinking. Look, right, I'm doing this for the wedding. There's a good reason.
What was last week? Last week wasn't mango as well, was it? It was something else.
Mate, yeah. Mango, Pepsi.
Pepsi and mango. Fuck me. Did you get that imported from somewhere, did you, or what?
I'll be honest, I discovered it in Tesco, mate. All these fancy drinks. Le Lion Bleu is on the King's Brow.
The King's Brow? What's the King's Brow then?
It's proper route. I don't know about King's Brow, but Pepsi's proper wrong, mate. It's not the Millwall. It's not the Millwall from old, mate.
Thank you, mate. What should I be drinking then if I'm not drinking alcohol?
No. But Pepsi, mate, you can't be drinking Pepsi. Pepsi's it's Coca-Cola, mate. Pepsi.
You've got to go for cola. I've got to go with
well, it's Coke actually, but yeah, I agree with Chris. Coke with a straw is probably the best way, mate, to drink it.
Coke Zero, no.
Just for the benefit of YouTube, obviously in a glass bottle. But Chris, I get your sentiment, mate.
Yeah, I think Coke is better than Pepsi.
100%. Coke is much better than Pepsi.
Yeah. If they did Coke with mango, I'd be all over it. But
they probably do. They probably do in the States, to be fair.
Yeah, they do everything, don't they?
It's weird though. Do you know? This is an interesting fact for you, right? Pepsi is a bigger company than Coca-Cola on.
Is it really?
Turnover is in product they sell. They sell more Pepsi Cola throughout the world than they do Coke, but Coke brand is more well known than Pepsi.
Okay, hell. There you go. Something new.
Evening to you as well, Cardi. Just quickly running through the agenda, shall we say? So the couple of topics we're going to cover. So the first one will be on the new keeper, Sarkic, who obviously joined us yesterday. Really looking forward to talking about that. And I guess as we've kind of already alluded to, the plethora of goalkeepers that we have at the moment and who's going to be staying, who's going to be going. So that will be the first topic. The second topic will be one of the questions actually that come in from Twitter this afternoon, which is essentially rating of the overall transfer business we've done. Have we spent enough money? Have we spent it in the right areas? So that will be the second topic. The third one, naturally, will be the starting lineup for tomorrow. So we'll have a go at predicting it, see what we think. And then another question that came in from Twitter as well was talking a bit about the matchday experience and some suggestions for improvements, what we expect.
Good idea. I like that.
Obviously, we've seen Harry's bar being rejuvenated and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be, I think, quite an interesting one to talk about. So that's going to obviously be the agenda. And I'm sure it will flow, but that's kind of what we're going to talk about, gents.
Sounds good. So what's the first one then?
The goalkeeper. The goalkeeper
situation. Yeah.
My player of the year.
Already.
Player of the year, Mickey did. I think that's a good shout. To be fair, if he comes in and hits the ground running, we know. Well, I mean, we voted Jordan Archer as a goalkeeper, as a player of the year, for God's sake, right? So,
and then of course Bart did it his first season as well, didn't he? I think so. For a keeper to come in, and not be funny, you ain't exactly got big gloves to fill, have you? With George Long, if he can fucking save half of the shots that George Long lets in, then I think he's a great candidate for player of the season, isn't he? This is Michael Dunn. Is this what he had last time? Was it the pink something it's called? Wasn't it the pink, the rose something, or
isn't it crystal something? Crystal Rose something.
Crystal Rose, I think he said, isn't it?
Can't remember.
So, yeah. I reckon Michael is a keen sort of runner or something. I reckon he's quite health conscious, loves his water. Fairly good, very good.
All about the hydration.
I'm like that from Monday to Thursday, then from Friday onwards, I'm all over the place. But no, Sarkic, really like what I saw so far. I mean, I looked at some of the highlight reels of him, and of course, you can't read too much into it because they're always going to show you the best bits of it. I'm pretty sure if someone made a highlights reel of George Long, everyone would be saying what a great goalkeeper he is. But firstly and foremostly, what I picked up on is his ability to save shots from long range, which is a massive tick. His ability to come out and claim crosses that come into the box. He's got great hands. He's very, very brave. His kicking is pretty decent as well. So it sounds like he's got good feet as well from a decent sort of player. 26 years of age, decent age. His shot stopping ain't too bad either. The only negative, and again, just going by what Stoke and Birmingham fans have been saying about him, is he's injury prone. Now, I say injury prone. I think he's had one big injury each time he's been on loan to sort of Stoke and Birmingham, which kind of affected his loan. Up until that point, apparently he was absolutely brilliant. Both clubs really rate him. So I think the Birmingham injury was a shoulder dislocation or something. So he's had surgery to fix that shoulder. So hopefully he's okay and his injuries are behind him. And if he's injury free this season, I think he could be the signing of the season for us. I really do. What's your guys think of him?
Michael Dunn's coming. He said, laugh close. He said he's not a runner. He's a 60-year-old with COPD and lung problems. from too much smoking.
From too much smoking. That's a lesson, Michael, to everyone listening.
By running too fast.
Running too fast and not smoking enough, yeah. Fair play, Michael.
I think he's a good keeper. I think, we don't forget when we got Bart in. Bart failed a couple of medicals with us, and then we ended up getting him on and again, comments normally go mad when I say it, but we did get him on a pay-per-play deal to start with, and then obviously once that proved he was okay, then he went forward. To be fair, Andy Marshall has played with this geezer before. They know each other.
He was a coach, wasn't he, when he was at Birmingham?
They know each other, and obviously Andy Marshall's basically in charge of all the keepers at the club, so he wouldn't have got him in if he didn't rate him. And also, it looks as if it's another signing what Aldo's had nothing to do with. So tick there as well.
Yeah. What's your thoughts then, chaps?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what you boys have said. I think just to give a slightly different take on things, I think that as much as I think we all agreed we needed a goalkeeper, I don't think any of us actually thought we'd go out and spend over £1 million on one this summer. No, so definitely. I do think we have to give credit to the club for doing that. And I also think we need to give credit to Rowett, who in a way is kind of holding his hands up saying he got it wrong with George Long. Yeah. He obviously thinks for whatever reason, and we don't know what happens in training. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but Bart's obviously not up to it anymore. We all, we don't know that. Obviously, we just have to take that on face value. So I think fair play to the club.
It's your opinion.
Sorry?
It's your opinion.
It's not my opinion. I'm not my opinion at all. I'm saying that
it's for the benefit of the fucking lawyers.
No, it's not. Based on my love for Bart, I wouldn't say he's finished, but I'm saying, evidently, the fact he's getting absolutely no minutes. As Alex has just put in the chat, he should probably never have been dropped. Yeah. He is. We are where we are. And as I say, credit to the club, credit to Rowett for admitting they got it wrong and going out and spending money.
I think he had an injury, didn't he? He had an injury when he was dropped originally, and then he had a finger injury because that gave it away in one of the photos where I think you, Joe, were at the club on one of the sponsors, and his finger was all strapped up. So, there was obviously a hand injury there of whatever form. But I mean, let's be honest, he's probably not necessarily bothered either way. He's probably on good money. He's 36 years old. He's still training, still keeping up his fitness and everything else. The club's giving him a new contract. So, they've obviously still got faith in him. It's just that, whatever contract he's got, George Long has obviously got a better agent, maybe. I don't know. But it's, we sat there for the last 6 months of last season being told most press conferences with Gary that, don't blame George Long. Look, it's not just him. Look at the defence and all this sort of stuff. And then this year we've still got the same defence, but he's getting, he's brought in a new keeper, and you think, well, hang on, what's going on? Unless there's something we don't know, and Long's better on the field than he is in goal. So, I wouldn't turn my nose up at a 6 foot plus strike, 6 foot plus either target man or in defence with Cooper. So yeah.
I just think when he brought George Long in, I think he brought him in for the purpose for him to play this sort of keeper sweeper or sweeper keeper role, whatever you want to call it, with us playing a high defensive line. I think when he quickly found out we ain't got the pace to play a high line and we've got to play deep, you're encouraging long shots, and George Long's not good for that, unfortunately. And he was probably the wrong signing that we needed at the time. Unfortunately, he didn't suit what we needed. I think he had different things in his mind. But going back to Bart, I think I agree with Chaps. I think he's quite happy, really. I think he's pretty happy being backup keeper. He's getting on a little bit. His body certainly won't be able to play 46 championship games in a row. Forget all the travelling home and away and things like that. It's brutal. And it probably suits him down to the ground, to be fair. I don't think he's complaining too much.
I would love to get a medical person on a show one day who works within football to see exactly what the strains and stresses are because they're in coaches. Some of them will fly, but the lower, like teams like us will get coaches more than we, be flying to, like, we might fly to Middlesbrough, but or Plymouth and stuff. But a lot of it would be, I wonder how much, damage potential. Yeah, because your muscles get cramped or whatever by being on these coaches and all that. It's all right for us not being on there, but when you're a professional athlete, it must potential give you some, long term.
Especially as you get older as well. As you get older, your body's more stiff, and your muscles are a bit sort of, tight as well. But,
how does it feel for you now then, Joe?
What, playing vets football?
Yeah, then obviously driving around and all that, because you're an old man now.
Yeah. Cheers to that, Mickey. No, again, I think as you get older, I've been playing since I was a kid, and certainly, weirdly now, I probably have to warm up more before games and warm down after games. I never used to do it when I was younger. I just sort of rock up, play football, go home sort of thing. So your body does take its toll. And I think with goalkeepers in particular, not just in match days, I think even in training, their training can be quite intense. It's very quick shot stopping, get up, turn, boom, get up. They probably push them hard in training sessions than are doing actual match days, So, yeah, I just think it's probably, decent having as a backup. I think if anyone had to leave, to kind of reduce the wage bill a little bit, it's probably George Long. I think he deserves first team football. He's not a bad keeper. Okay, he's got his weaknesses, but maybe he needs to be shipped out, to a League One club maybe and do a good job there somewhere, or even on loan somewhere.
I think ultimately we will see one of them go, either Bart or George Long, and I think it will come down to whether, first of all, how much of a desire does George Long have at 30 years old to be a number one? I think it's quite evident he's not going to be at number one at Championship level. So then it comes down to the fact, can someone in League One afford whatever portion of his wages? I think at the end of the day, his confidence would have taken a knock. He's come back in pre-season, and some of the cock-ups he's made to me are representative of someone who's trying too hard to impress. And I think his confidence has taken a battering. And we all know Millwall is not the place to build your confidence back up. So
no, exactly.
I think that he could be on his way. And then I guess it's also whether Bart, as I say, we don't know how fit and able he is to even be a number two these days. We don't know. No. I would prefer him to stay. But we'll see. I just want to address this comment that's on screen at the minute. So all I would say is, and this is based on absolutely no knowledge at all, but Truman is an exception. But I think Bart and Long both signed new contracts last season. My assumption is that they were signed based on triggered extensions. So I don't think they were necessarily Rowett saying, yes, I want to tie you both down to another contract. I think they were down from triggers. But that doesn't really work out though, Chris, does it? Because I could understand that with Long, that he's played the games to earn a trigger extension, like played 10 games in a row and he's got the extent or whatever it is for the 22-23 season. But Bart weren't playing pretty much most of that season. So he wasn't playing the games to get the contract extension. So I mean, I don't know. I agree with that. Not necessarily a game triggered extension, but sometimes you hear players sign a 3-year deal with an option of a fourth, and that option is either on the club side or the player's side, or triggered based on appearances. Like, for example, Malone, he would have had a triggered based contract on appearances last season, but he didn't trigger it. But sometimes it's just a case of, actually, I've got the option, I want to take it. So if I'm Bart and I'm happy to be a number two and I'm getting paid 10 grand a week and I can sit on a bench for 10 grand, I'm going to trigger that contract extension. So Truman's the one I don't get. I don't get it. I don't get what he is adding, especially when you've got Joe Wright, who looks...
He's quality youngster, yeah.
And don't forget, we signed another 2 young goalkeepers, some American lad and someone else, earlier on last season. So we've got so many goalkeepers.
Where did that young lad come from? Where did the American come from? Wolves? No.
Oh, no, it's going to bug me. I don't know. But we did sign two young keepers last season. So we got those 2. We've got Joe Wright. Obviously, Sanford's gone. So I don't really understand the role that Truman plays. For me,
Stanford's only gone out on loan, hasn't he?
Yeah. To Salford just for the season.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Joe Wright, sorry. Yeah. Is it for the whole season or for 6 months? I can't remember now.
Till January.
till January. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody's checking
again,
their
I'd like to see Joe Wright feature perhaps in a couple of years' time. He's still young. If it goes really, really well with Sarkic, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
I think we're going to end up calling him Sarky.
Well, you know what they call him over at Wolves? They call him Matty. M-A-T-I. That's what everyone refers to as Matty.
Matty Sarkic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll just call him as just Matty. You know, even his ex sort of colleagues at Wolves, you know, looked at on his Instagram today and all wishing him well, all saying all the best, Matty. You know, Matty this, Matty that. All the fans call him Matty. You know, so I guess
he spoke really well in his interview. He spoke really well. We talked about
a lot better than you thought he was going to, didn't he? You were expecting when they go, it's from Montenegro, you're thinking he's going to sound Middle Eastern, you know, Eastern European, and he didn't come across
that.
Well, that and Grimsby, you know. So so it was. He spoke well. We talked about the training ground. He talked about Marshall's influence. So I think longer term, he will be the number one with Joe Wright, the number two, which is what Chris just said.
The training ground. I didn't realise that the training ground was so time sensitive. I mean, there was stuff that come out last night from the fans forum, and I don't know why the club don't let media in, or even why they don't just put it out on Millwall TV. I mean, it goes back to when I was fan on the board. I think the only two fan forums what were recorded and live streamed were the ones I attended as fan on the board, purely because I live streamed them on Periscope. And I had to jump. And I had to jump for enough hoops to get that to put it on my Twitter account, and it was only allowed to go on the Twitter account. So, but allegedly, Calmont Road has got 18 months left on the current contract.
Yeah,
and obviously, I don't think, because I think it's a long-term lease, so they don't want to be taking another 5-10 years. I don't think. So you're looking at, they've got to build this one in Kent, and at the moment, I think when they looked at it first, it was about 20 million, which I've always said will be a lot higher because they're building it. They're building it to whichever way you want to look at it, Cat 6, Cat 1s of environmental levels. So it's going to go through the roof. That's my industry, what I'm working with in construction side of it, as in I self-bus stuff to it. But that's just going to push it right up, you know. And there was talk yesterday of people saying, you know, that figures were quoted about 25, 30 million or so. That will go. I can't see that really coming in much shorter than probably close to 40 million. Especially now that they've got to get it. Well, especially now they've got to get it built. I mean, building it's not going to be the hard part as such. It's getting rid of the soil and sorting all the groundwork out there. I think that's going to be the, you know, you're talking of a field, what's going to be conditioned and, you know, leveled and scoped and everything else. So, you know, you're either looking at trucks you're not necessarily taking, but heavy machinery to level that all off and then start building it. To have that done in 18 months, when we haven't managed to do the regen in 6 years, is going to be a challenge. But I think they'll probably do it, but it is going to be a challenge.
Interesting. So the next point, we've got a few points to get through here. So the second point we've raised was the rating of the overall transfer business so far this season. Now, I'm sure we probably covered this in previous shows this week and last week, but for the point of this being a live show, sort of get a general sort of thoughts and feedback from the audience, really, guys. So if you want to comment on the in the comments, give us your thoughts on what you think of the transfer business so far this season. There's rumour that we possibly might still bring in one or two more, maybe a loan signing or something, but perhaps give us a rating out of 10. You know, what's your thoughts out of 10? How good has it been so far? What do you think, Mickey? 5? When you were 6.5 the other day?
Yeah, I was about 6, I think I was the other day, but I think realistically, I mean, 5, 6.
They've gone up.
It's about, to be fair, it's about 5, 6. The problem, the problem you see is that it's not the fact that the signings we've got in are bad. It's more of how we've arranged ourselves around the signings, and I think that's the, you know, it's the same as always. Well, I don't think we've had a good transfer window where we've got everything sealed up double quick, and then all of a sudden, you know, we can then start focusing on the pre-season stuff. I think pre-season, I think it was more transfer and pre-season what was added together, but I think, you know, realistically, I think pre-season was about 6.5, but I think transfers, yes, okay, we've got, you know, I suppose realistically, yes, the keeper's okay, but like the comments said earlier, he has had a dislocated shoulder. You have got issues of him going on the floor because he didn't he do his dislocated shoulder by throwing a ball out. I think that's how he.
I don't know.
I think that's how he popped his. I think that's how he popped his shoulder by lobbing a ball out. But the only real signing, what I think is a massive enhancement to us, is Joe Bryan. I think Joe Bryan is a blinding transfer deal, considering that we got him for nothing.
Absolutely correct. I mean, there's been a couple of little some decent sort of transfer dealings, to be fair. A couple of freebies in there as well. Chaps, what do you think about the comments coming through in regards to everyone's mentioned about defenders? I mean, that's the last three comments just there. Everyone's referring to defenders. I mean, how important is it for us to sign a defender? Obviously, we're going to do it before tomorrow's game, but certainly over the next sort of week or two. How imperative is it we get a new defender? And if we do get a defender, what type of defender do you think we need?
Yeah, I mean, I would rate it currently. I'll be honest, more optimistic. I'd rate it an 8 out of 10. I think clearly Rowett as a way, he's created a shape and an identity, and we've recruited around that. So I personally want a bit more pace and wingers, but we're clearly not going to play that. So therefore, we're not going to go out and recruit them. So I think it's an 8. I think we've probably spent in the region of 4 to 5 million. When you factor in the likes of Denor was probably between 1 and 2 million. Nisbet was, obviously we know Sarkic was, and Joe Bryan's wages will not be cheap, believe me.
No.
So I think we spent 4 to 5 million. Nisbet, to me, if we can keep him fit, looks like the real deal. I think we have improved. I think what would take it from an 8 to a 10 would be, number one, another striker, which I think Rowett has alluded to will happen, but it's probably going to be a loan of some Premier League club. And then a ball-playing centre-back.
Yeah.
However, obviously, Richard Cowley's come out and said it's unlikely we're going to bring in a centre-back. What I would imagine is that if we can offload Evans, because clearly he's not in the plan, and we can find a good loan for Alex Mitchell, then we may look to bring in a centre-back. But the final point I'll make on the centre-back is, obviously, we are judging the likes of Murray Wallace, Sean Hutchinson on the form of the end of last season and the start of this season. It will be really interesting to see how they perform with a better goalkeeper behind them. I think that will be really, really interesting to see.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, apart from Hutchinson, who is 32, maybe 33? Is he 34 now? Okay, so apart from him, the other two haven't really re-aged. I mean, Murray Wallace is 30, 31. So that's not terrible for a defender. Coops is still relatively young, 27, 28, I think, possibly getting to his prime. So they're not becoming bad players. I don't think they've lost pace as such. I think that the pace has always been what it is. It's always been pretty crap. I think if anything, it's just the form and the confidence of the players at the moment, and maybe not having that young player in defence. I mean, last season we had Cresswell. The season before we had youth in Daniel Ballard. I think that's where we look a little bit suspect at the back. So to your point, chaps, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think we do need that kind of young, youthful, energetic pace, some a bit of agility, who's going to be quick on the turn and be a ball-playing defender. Agreed. And dare I say it, I mean, it's as sad as it is to admit it, I think maybe Hutch is the weak link in that three at the moment. Don't get me wrong, if you played him sporadically and him play once a month or once every 3 or 4 games, or comes off the bench for the last 10 minutes, I think he'll be absolutely brilliant.
This is it.
What a quality player he is. But to him to do 90 minutes week in, week out, I think this season is going to be really tough for him, unfortunately. You know, what do you think, Micky?
He's not 34. I got that wrong. He's 33 in 2 months' time. So he's
okay.
That's still.
But even so, he just comes to the twilight of his career now, isn't he? For a defender, like you saw with Alex Pearce, didn't you? When he got to that age, his legs went a little bit, and he weren't quite the same player he was the season before. And I think Hutch is quite. You can see it's quite evident, really, towards the end of last season, even in pre-season. He's lost that little bit of quality, Addy, unfortunately.
Good evening to Glenn from a Coventry podcast, the Sky Blue. How you doing, fella? You all right? I agree with your points there. What you made, Bryan is a good signing.
Certain upgrade
on the loan, especially on the free. And I agree with what you said as well, Joe, is that, his wages are high, but rather than giving him a massive lump sum, he put it on his wages for him. That's what I've heard. So, that makes perfect sense. There's no money going out the door instantly. It's spread over. So, realistically, if he's on 20, 25 grand there or thereabouts, I don't really care, because it means, I'd rather give him I'd rather give him $1 million or close to over a year in installments than give £1 million out the door. And let's be honest, he's worth £1 million of anyone's money in the Championship without a shadow of a doubt. Is Fleming staying? I don't know, Glenn. If you know, tell us. Personally, that if he is staying, great. If he ends up going, I think that's a bad bit of business leaving it this late. Because
same question back to Glenn. Sorry, Mickey. Is
go.
Staying? You don't know, right? If the right offer comes in for Hamer in your position, or Fleming.
Also, chaps, to that point, if Glenn, you're listening still, what's the general consensus amongst the commentary fans with Gyökeres going? Obviously, we had a very similar situation start of season with potentially Fleming going, our best player. Obviously, hasn't gone yet. Was there a sense of you didn't want him to leave, or did you see that as a positive for the club and that you've generated a lot of money? You could then,
they've signed 9 players, and they've signed 5 or 6 players on the back of it, haven't they?
Yeah, where you kind of reinvest that money and you've strengthened the squad. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Obviously, in an ideal world, you have it both ways, but you can't. So, which way are commentary fans sort of feeling at the moment towards that? So, if you can let us know in the chats, that'd be really interesting to hear that point. There's a few more comments we've got to go through, guys. I want to make sure everyone's getting listened to. So, Craig Jones, transfer-wise, we've done some really good business. We've still got enough scope for youth coming through without blocking their chances of being in a match day squad. Obviously, we've seen that a little bit this season, haven't we? We've seen the likes of Malachi and Imaku and obviously Estee last season. So, Rowett is trying to bleed a couple of these youngsters in. So again, who knows how it goes? Certainly, Imaku has caught the eye in pre-season. He looked quite lively, quite fit. So it gives us something we don't normally have. A question we'll probably need to go back to, which I guess is always going to be a topic of discussion, is what we're going for, a back 4 or back 5. I mean, what works best? And we know Rowett's going to go over 5, certainly for a long time to start the season. But do you feel 5 works better than a 4? I mean, Chris, you've always had the stats, haven't you, in regards to how well we do conceding goals and whatnot. I mean, what's the general thoughts on that?
Well, all I would say is factually, we did better last season points per game with a 5 than we did a 4.
Interesting.
Which I think is interesting. Now, I'm not saying I would play a 5. I just want to make that really, really clear.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah,
but is that stat real? Because we only played 10 games on a 5 before he changed, didn't it?
We didn't play many games with starting with a 5, but I'm just saying.
November, wasn't it? It was, yeah.
For the games that we did, factually, points per game, we performed better with a 5. Now, a lot of that is to do with the fact that towards the end of the season, I mean, our form, especially our home form for the last sort of 10 games.
That's true. It was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that was when we were playing a 4. But I'm not for one second saying we should play a 5. I'm just saying that's what the stat says. I think I'm okay with playing a 5 if we have the players to do it, but I don't think we do. So therefore, for me, we should be playing a back 4. But I think Alex has made a really good point in the chat.
Yeah, so do I.
5 suits Brian because Brian's very good going forwards and his delivery, you see this season, it's going to be night and day to what we're used to. He's a bit suspect defensively, but Danny Mack is the opposite. Danny Mack is superb defensively, but we all know he's got to work on his game going forward.
Completely agree there. Just going back to Glenn's point very quickly, just for us Millwall fans, obviously we've got Fleming as a big asset for us at the moment. So it'd be interesting what Glenn's thoughts are. So he said, well, Hamer will go if we get 15 million plus for him. Do you agree with that, chap? Do you think it's worth 15? Obviously,
no, I don't think it's worth 15. I don't think Fleming's worth 15, but in today's market, they are. Yeah, so, but I think the difference is Coventry have reinvested almost every single penny they got for Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah.
With Sims, with Wright that they signed today. So they've reinvested in 2 young strikers that, as Glenn has said, has got potential to be, maybe not even better than Gyökeres because I think he was a talent above. They've reinvested all of it. I don't think if we sold Fleming for 10, 12, 15 million, we would reinvest all of it. So,
and also, I think, go back to Hamer, a valid point you made there, chaps, as well. Is last season he had a good season. He got quite a few assists, didn't he? But don't forget, he had goalkeepers there scoring a lot of goals, which he was assisting as well. Yeah. Not having a goal scorer there and out goal scorer like goalkeepers. I mean, they're going to hope that Ellis Sims does a job there for them. But certainly, Hamer may not have the season he had last season, in which case he may not be valued a bit like Fleming, really. If Fleming goes, next sort of 10 games and scores 2 goals, suddenly his value will drop now, won't it, as well? So sometimes you've got to sell these players when the time's right,
Which is why I wouldn't be against selling Fleming for 12, 15 million. I really wouldn't. I think that's the whole... For us to get to the level we want to, we have to sell players at the right time. That doesn't make us a selling club. What makes us a selling club is if we sell our players for peanuts, which we did with Hay all those many moons ago. If we get 10, 12, 15 million for Fleming and we reinvest it wisely, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Also, very, very quick point here that the Lions picked up on is, and again, we touched on this, I think, in previous shows recently, is what's the situation with Coops, Mickey? You got any sources?
He hasn't signed yet, mate. He hasn't signed yet. I mean, allegedly they started it before.
Contract's there, isn't it? We believe the contract's given
allegedly,
to him.
But is he waiting to see who we get in before he makes a decision, or wait till January and see where he goes from there? But I think the fact that we're into the final year and we're pretty much season starts tomorrow. Like, what's the name? What one of them said a minute ago. There you go, Le Lion Bleu. I mean, realistically, this should have been sealed up, really.
Well, we don't want to have the repeat we had last time with Jed Wallace, do we? We should have learnt from our lesson from that. And do we give him an ultimatum to say, listen, you don't sign the contract now, you're on the transfer list, before the transfer window's up? Because let's be honest, with a year left on his contract, I think he'll probably get 4 or 5 million for Coops at the moment with a year left on his contract.
You'll only get 4 to 5 million with Coops if he wants to go. If he puts his feet in and says, I don't want to go, don't forget, as much as people go, he's a club asset or, these players are club assets. If he don't want to go, he don't have to go. He's got a contract. You're going to have to fulfill that contract or buy him out of it. And, what you don't want to do is end up pissing a player like Cooper off in a position where he plays, because it's going to cause you more heartache. And to be fair, Cooper and his agent have probably got that in the back of their heads going, who are they going to replace you with, Coops?
Yeah.
No one. Not going to replace you with anyone, Coops. They need you more than you need them. So just hold your line and get what you want and think about what you want to do and move forward. But if we lose him, I don't blame Coops. I think I think it's a bit of bad business for the club, whatever. That it should have been sealed up last year, really.
Yeah.
No, when we lost Jed, that's where they should have gone to Coops and said, here, it's obvious that he wants a 3-year contract. He's 28 or so. He probably wants a final pay deal. He wants a decent, contract to see him out. And
I think he deserves it. I think he should get it. The trouble is, dare I say it, we want to get to the promised land. We want to get to the Premier League. If we did get to the Premier League, is Cooper good enough for the Premier League? I mean, he's great in the air, but we've seen how tough it is in the Premier League with fast, world-class strikers. I mean, can you imagine Cooper being sort of turned by these fast-paced strikers in the Premier League? He'll get absolutely ruined. I would say he's probably
all of our defenders would.
All of them would. You're absolutely right. They all would. So maybe is that a reluctance on Millwall's part, thinking, no, we'll give you a 3-year contract because we don't know what the future holds. In which case, they probably want to give him a year extension or maybe 2 possibly to not kind of get into that big financial commitment. Who knows? We don't know what's going on. But just moving on, guys. I know time's going really quickly. Point 3. Starting lineup for tomorrow. Now, chaps, when we wrote this, are we thinking what we want or what Rowett will go for? We do like a bit of a guessing game here, or how do you want to play it?
Oh, it's difficult because you're biased because he's going to play a 5. So it's kind
forget what he's going to play. What would you play?
Okay, that's a good question.
Okay, all right.
You are Gary Rowett. Off you go, Mr. Rowett. Who are you playing tomorrow?
A better looking version of Gary Rowett, to be fair.
Oh, I don't know, only just.
I'm not getting involved in some of the comments I've seen about you two last week.
It's the teeth that gets me.
The teeth, yeah. I mean, I'll take it as a compliment because I've never had my teeth done. So the fact
it's money well spent in Turkey, wasn't it, lads?
Yeah. But the first question,
neither one of you. Well, Chris denied it before I said it, but Joe didn't deny it. So there's obviously something there, mate.
My teeth is my own. Thank you very much. They're not that great to us if you're to pay for. Certainly, if I did pay for it, they'd be fucking worth fuck all anyway. Chaps, first question is: would you go the back four or back five? I guess if you've got to pick the team.
So, I'm not. Do you know what? I haven't prepared for this at all, so I feel like proper on the spot. I actually think away. So I'm going to say something. It might go down like a lead balloon, but I'm going to say it. I think away from home against Borough, I'd play a 5.
Okay,
I
that's interesting. I mean, I agree with you. You know, I mean, did we play a 5 away to Borough and we drew? Is it 0-0 or 1-1 out there? I can remember.
I'll take that right now. I'll be honest.
And I think that was a bit of the game plan, weren't it? If I remember, it was very defensive. We did the same thing with Stoke away, I think, from memory, and it kind of paid off, didn't it?
And you don't mind in these games. Like, I'll be honest, as long as we don't then play that at home against these crappy teams, fine. But away to Borough, who are everyone is tipped for the top 6, I'd take a draw now. So I'd play a 5.
I've tipped him to win.
To win the league,
number 1. Yeah.
There you go.
I've done a show with the Middlesbrough fan, which is on our YouTube channel, the new series we've done, Behind Enemy Lines. And
that was good, that.
And just what the lad was saying, the way that they're looking to play, and you know, it all depends on how we approach kick off and how we approach, you know, how we kick up the field is pretty much how they're going to play, and they will manage one side of the pitch, and they know your weakest side, and they just start causing you problems down that side. And the way he was just talking, where he's going, I just think we've got enough to draw out. I mean, I think we're going to win tomorrow anyway, but I just think it's I just think they're potentially with Michael Carrick and the way he's got those running, and he's got, you know, I think the confidence with people within the backroom staff listening to what Johnny was saying, I just personally think that they might be that little tiny bit of an underdog who potentially might perform a lot better than what we think.
I don't think they're underdogs. I think everyone's taking notice of this, certainly from last season, how well they played.
Just one step before you do your thing. Chris, I've just seen that you want to run, mate. So we'll come back to you first if you want to say bye before you drop out. Otherwise, Joe could be talking for the next 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, just want to say, thanks for having me on tonight. And obviously, for those of you that listen, thanks for listening to our rambles. And
enjoy the journey up at Borough tomorrow. So how long's the journey to get up there?
I don't know.
You worked it out yet?
About five and a half, something like that.
10 hours. Yeah.
I might say that tomorrow.
Yeah, depends who's driving. So, and how many stops we have. But yeah.
Well, good luck, mate. Enjoy it. Enjoy the day. Hope you come back at least for a point. What's your prediction before you go very quickly?
I'm going to go with what I want. Well, not obviously I want to win, but what I'm saying is I think realistic or 1-1 draw if we play a 5, shut up shop, and hopefully Nisbet or Bradders get on the score sheet so that it gets them off the mark. So that's what I'm going for, and fingers crossed. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks for listening, and catch you boys on the other side.
I'll leave you this little diamond before you leave, Chris. Yeah, I've gone 3-0.
Which way?
Millwall.
Hey, I tell you,
Nisbet to score a brace.
If we win 3-0, I will break my alcohol ban and I'll have a pint tomorrow.
There you go, then.
I'll take that.
Looks like you're having a pint. See you later.
See you later. Enjoy it, mate. So, what was we talking about, Mickey? Before you rudely
you were talking about your lineup, fella.
Oh, that was it. Was I talking about that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think it's irrelevant. I think what formation we play really. I mean, everyone's too hung up about whether we play for back 4 or back 5. It's irrelevant. As long as we play a formation and we play the right way, it's irrelevant. We can play a back 5, but I said it time and time again. If we play a back 5, our wing backs have to really, really influence the game. They've got to boss it on the flanks. They've got to push up high and create the extra player in the midfield and attacking third. If we don't do that and we sit back, which it becomes a defence versus attack game, doesn't it? Especially against someone like Middlesbrough, which may or may pay off for us because we can hit them on the break. We could probably nick a goal and not winning 1-0. That's how football works, unfortunately. But with regards to what I would pick, I agree with Chaps where he left there. As much as we want to see a back four, I would pick a back five against Borough because they're going to get a lot of the ball. And we need the extra player in midfield. We need the extra player in defence when we're called upon as well. So I think tactically tomorrow, it'll make sense to go with a five. But then Rowett in the past has shown us he's happy to change it and tinker. If it doesn't work at half time, he's not afraid to change it and go back four if he feels that's going to be beneficial for us. So
it fits into our mould tomorrow. Yeah, there's going to be a full stadium potentially. So Johnny was saying they'd sold about 28,000 when I done the interview with him, and you're probably looking that's going to be the other 3,000-4,000 has been sold by now or by tomorrow with walk-ins and everything else. So that'll be a full capacity stadium. We've got 893 going up. Chaps is going up. Omar's going up. And I think that it plays into us with the underdog mentality. And I agree with what Glenn says there, is that we are a coupon buster because people will think with a full stadium, Carrick, Borough will be full on. And if you look over the last 10 opening games Borough's had, they've not really performed well on opening day. They're sort of slow at first and then build. I think we're beaten. And I think, honestly, and you lot are going to laugh at me now, and hopefully tomorrow I prove wrong, and then I won't look a fool going back. But I think we'll win that 3-0. I just think that Nisbet's got something to prove.
Yeah,
I really do think Nisbet's got something to prove.
He's quite capable of scoring, let's be honest. I think we just need to make sure that we play on the front foot. We don't play too defensively and soak up pressure from the first minute because it's going to be a very, very, very long afternoon, unfortunately, But it'd be interesting to see how the game pans out. So who would you pick? The question I want to ask you is, who would you pick in your starting 11 then, Mickey?
Cooper Hutch and I think I put Cooper Hutch. Who did I pick?
Would you go for Muzza or would you go for Ryan Leonard?
I would go Ryan Leonard on the right.
Yeah, I would as well, yeah.
Just because he can take it forward. I would also have Mitchell not to start.
Okay.
I would have.
You have Denore instead, would you? Instead,
yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd have Denore to start because I just think that it's that unknown. Middlesbrough won't know too much about him, and he will come in and then bring Mitchell.
I'm against that idea. I think a lot of people I've noticed especially on Twitter and social media, all suggest about starting Denore and maybe dropping Sav or dropping Mitchell. For me, for what I've seen of Denore in pre-season, yes, he's got a bit of energy. He's got some legs on. He's quite lively. But I would start with Sav and Mitchell and maybe bring Denore in second half. I think you've got to start with a team that are tried and trusted and know each other. Sav and Mitchell have got a great relationship. They know each other very well. They know how to play with each other. I think for a game like this against Middlesbrough, you don't want to take too many risks and gambles and tinker too much.
I'll go Brian Saville, Casper, and then I'll have Danny Mack. And then literally half-time, swap Casper for Billy Mitchell. And then don't forget now that you got 5 subs and we're allowed to pick 9. He can pretty much change the attacking half massive. So I would bring Billy Mitchell on, take Casper off, give him half a game, and then bring Billy on because Billy's commendable and Billy will be able to change the game when he comes on. And then just going forward, I'd have Fleming, and then I'd have Nisbet and Brads or Nisbet and Watmore.
I agree. I think Watmore, again, he's a great pre-season. I think he deserves to start. In fact, he probably deserves to start ahead of Zian Fleming, dare I say it. But we know that ain't going to happen. Rout's a big fan of Fleming, and he'll start with Fleming. And unfortunately, Watmore will either be on the bench or he'll start ahead of Bradshaw up front with Nisbet. For midfield, like I said, I think Mitchell's is the clear choice. I think he has to start Billy Mitchell. I think even when he's seen him come on at pre-season, he looks good on the ball. He's almost added to his game a little bit, whether it's age or experience. He's just got another level, I think, in pre-season. You can see the quality he's got. And I think this season will be a big season for Billy Mitchell. And lots of people in our group chat were talking about who we're going to pick for player of the season. And a few of us have picked Billy Mitchell as potentially player of the season this season. So it could be a big season for him, but we'll see how it goes. So what's Connor saying then? So Sarkic, Mack, Harding, not a bad choice there. I mean, he's certainly a bit more athletic than Hutch, isn't he? Cooper. So I presume he's going with a back four there, though. Am I right? With Harding at centre back with Cooper, and then Denori, Mitchell in midfield. He's then going with attacking three of Zian, Watmore, Bradshaw, Nisbet. I'm not quite sure how that will work out.
Unless he's bringing Zane back into more of an attacking midfielder.
Maybe. So you're having
let us know where you're going to play Zian, because at the moment you pretty much got four strikers there, and I don't think we're going to play four up front.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way of tinkering that somehow. I'm just thinking if you're going to play the back four, and you've got Mitchell.
Looks more like maybe he's playing a back three with two wing backs, so back five as such, and then two attacking midfielders. Yeah, so possibly. Zane and Watmore, I take it as a thing is two strikers, two attacking midfielders. That could be a good little lineup. That good.
Mickey, a question here that we've thought about on the chat, which a few people asked a question on Twitter as well, is what's our thoughts on match day experience now at the Den? Obviously, they made a few changes and they're constantly looking at ways to try and make the experience a better one for us Millwall fans when we go and watch them at home. There's talk about, I haven't been to Ari's Bar this season, so I'm not quite sure what changes have happened there, but apparently they've done something there.
They've knocked out the offices, realigned the bar, moved the bar around. Yeah, they've not, as you come up the stairs, the office and the storeroom, what used to be there, that's all knocked out. I think they knocked out all the toilets and re-put them in.
Really?
Filled it up. It's basically a sports bar now. So
it's going to be open more space though.
Yeah. Well, I think it has on a floor plan, and I think with the fact of moving that bar from where it was and putting it on the other wall has made it look a lot bigger.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if square footage is massively increased, but it has increased. But I think the fact that they've gone very industrial, that line, what everyone's saying is wallpaper, and it's weird. There's a massive brick wall in there with Harry Cripps. I think it's 1946 to 1995. Just looks as if someone's got a tin of emulsion and a paintbrush and just written it. It's sort of real old school, sort of retro looking. But on all the pictures I've seen, there's not one picture they've shown that. So whether or not they're leaving that as a surprise for people to see when they go in, and I've just given them a surprise.
Guys, the guys watching this, if you get a chance, you haven't seen it already, try and have a look maybe for
anyone who was at the fans forum last night would have seen it.
Yeah, that'd be good to see it. I'll be honest with you, I think in the summer months I like being outside having a beer, so I'm often around the kind of blue bus area under the sort of the tent, the bandstand if you want to call it, and having a couple of beers there. But certainly as the weather changes, it gets a bit colder. I like to get in Ari's Bar, and everything that puts me off there sometimes does get a little bit too overcrowded and whatnot.
And kids I wonder, I'd be interested to know now if kids are allowed in it, because like certain age kids, they never let them in, did they? So it'd be interesting to see if that's changed. But look, to open it on non-match day for people who live around a local area and that is always a win-win. If what they need to do is hopefully open it on away days and then show the game in there. If they open it on away days and show the game in there, now that would be a great little money making, because a lot of Millwall fans who don't travel will go in there and because the money's going into the club, isn't it? So that would be a great thing. So
absolutely. Just very, very quickly, just to go back to Connor mentioned Mickey, he was referring to two attacking midfielders and two strikers,
which was
4-4-2 almost. Lion LeBlue was suggesting Heineken on tap and proper chips. obviously not a fan with the chips that served at the
moment. I don't know, for Casper, we need to do mayonnaise and ketchup now with the chips, don't we, and French fries.
Or waffles and stuff, maybe. Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, the food side of it outside, I think, is improved. I mean, the German sausages and the burgers seem to go down quite well. I don't know whether they'll be bringing back the pie mash again this season. I mean, I quite like the idea that they brought pie mash in last season. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but it's Manzi's, and it's
not the same, is it?
It's Manzi's, but it's done by the club, which I don't know what they do to it, but they just ruin it.
You're absolutely right there. I've tried it a couple of times when it first came out there. I must admit, I'm eating it thinking, this is not quite the same.
Watery, wasn't it? It wasn't
that great either and all that. So, I think the the kind of logic or whatever, the idea is great, but the result of it is not brilliant. Now, I haven't seen it in pre-seasons. Whether they're going to bring it back or not this season, I don't know. But it'd be interesting what happens there. But guys in the chat, any other suggestions, any ideas of how you feel we can improve the match day experience? I guess for us going to home games. I mean, if you go back, 5, 6, 7 years, I mean, we've probably come on leaps and bounds. To be fair, from what it used to be like. But obviously, there was always got ways of improving.
We need to bring back the meal deals. Remember the meal deals on midweek games, like the curry and the chips?
Yes.
Curry and the chips and stuff. That's, they just need to...
curry and chips, don't you?
Yeah, they just need to do it. I mean, what Alex has said there, I think that potentially has got a lot of legs. Not pop-up breweries as in, local breweries or whatever, maybe. But the fact that they've signed with Shepherd Neame now, they will have loads of beer. Well, they probably want to, market towards a big crowd. And you're thinking realistically on match days, there's, 10, 15, 20,000 people there.
Yeah.
It's an ideal opportunity for them to bring in a special beer, a new beer, whatever it is. That could, the choice of beers there could be much better. I think.
Well, last game I went to against the Fortuna game, they had Spitfire there, and I must admit it was like drinking piss. I mean, I'm rather thinking Carlsberg. I hate Carlsberg, but that weren't too great. So I hope that's not a regular thing, but I'm probably sure it was. And
I think so. Yeah.
Then they had Brooklyn Lager. If you remember last season, those machines were selling as Brooklyn Lagers, try and speed up the process of selling beer.
I think that would be coming back. I think there'll be quite a few more of them around.
Yeah, that didn't taste too bad. That was pretty good. Chris Brown made a really good point here. Mill never seem to use a stadium for other activities such as boxing or live concerts or
there's a story around that,
wrestling as well.
There's a story around that when it opened, didn't you?
Go on.
Well, when the stadium opened, obviously it was originally when Millwall opened the new den, it was called the London Stadium. Right. And the idea was that the London Stadium was going to be doing boxing and concerts and everything else because
they do a boxing fight.
They done Herbie Hine or something. But basically, it can hold nearly 30,000 people at a boxing in the den
because of the floor space.
Because of the floor space, which is more than what the O2 holds, and obviously better seating, better view, everything else.
Yeah,
but O2 was interested in. I know that through a power mine that O2 was introduced to the club potentially, and the club weren't too keen on it. And then O2 was just starting out, really getting big, and they wanted to look at, a sponsorship or something, and really throw it like a stadium that could do concerts, could do everything, so they could really throw their legs behind it, throw their weight behind it. And they, for whatever reason, we didn't. And then not long down the line, the O2 opened. 10 years, whatever. And later on, the O2 opened.
Knocked out the idea.
And that become the venue and everything else because a promoter ends up owning it. And the rest of it's thing. I'll tell you what I would love to do before we go, just before we end. I would love to see, just once, the likes of the Millwall boxers who are currently out there to actually have a boxing night at the den and fill the den up and have boxing at the den with the Millwall boxers. That would be an absolutely fantastic atmosphere. But hey ho, I doubt if it'll happen, but we can only wish.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure, that is something we can probably look into. I'm sure they really wanted to kind of push on that commercially. I agree. Obviously, you've got the O2, which is literally across the water almost. There's always going to be a bit of a competition for them. But then you like to think that what the O2 are going to charge to hire out their venue would be a lot more than what Millwall charge to hire out the Den. So it makes sense. Maybe not for the massive boxing occasions, but any kind of sporting event or concert or something. Why not? Maybe
I think Millwall would do it themselves. I mean, when I I was found on the board, or just after, I think around that time, but I know that Steve Kavanagh was toting about the idea of having the Eubank fight there, Eubank Junior fight, when his first big one a few years back.
Right, okay.
But that was going to be, I think that was in October, or February, October, I think it was, and they were just
I'm sure
worried that it'll be a bit cold there. So,
Frank Maloney was promoting still. I'm pretty sure he or she, now Kelly, would fancy that using it as a venue. Obviously, being a Millwall fan himself. So, but yeah. I mean, guys, the question there was more aimed towards match day experience. Obviously, great ideas and good sort of suggestions what we can do to kind of make great revenue for the club there. But
lower price
experience, what can we do differently? I mean, do you guys feel that half times are a little bit boring now? I mean, some clubs have like entertainment on them. They do like races with with fans, or I don't know, they have like kids out there playing football and games. I mean, do you think that something could be done at half time, or are you just quite happy to go in the foyer and have a beer and come back at second half? I don't know what your thoughts are on that. What's your thoughts on that, Mickey? I take it as
no, I don't. Look, if kids want to do it, that's fine. I prefer standing in a queue for the whole of half time and still not getting a pint.
Missing the goal before that second half.
That's it, knowing they're going to score while you're still trying to get a pint of warm piss. So yeah, no, that's it. So yeah,
exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
we're still on that one. So yeah. Right, I'm going to bring this to
Chris.
No, they're sitting it down to the smokers bit and all that lot. So yeah. Watch the video we did yesterday. What's out now on YouTube? And do us a favour, in the comments, let us know your 1 to 24 predictions, because we are going to look at keeping those and come back to them. So if you do want to be involved in a future show or by your name anyway, and potentially take the piss, then please do leave us your 1 to 24.
Don't do that now, though, because obviously we're not going to have long enough to get your 1 to 24 and then
no, not in here. Do it on the other show. Yeah. On the other show, do it on there, because we're going in a second.
Exactly. And last week, guys, very quickly, just what's your predictions in the comments before we wrap up the show? Just put your predictions on tomorrow's score. We're interested in how you think it's going to go. What we're waiting for, you're going for what, 3-0?
Yes, mate.
You are. I'm going to go for 1-1. I mean, personally, I think we might lose it, but I'm hoping 1-1. We've got a 1-1 from Alex. Nice one, Alex. Any more? Connor's going for 1-0. Is that Millwall or Borough? I presume it's going for Millwall. Obviously, if it's Borough, let us know. Any more there, guys, before we wrap up? Any more suggestions?
60 seconds left.
Millwall win. Chris Brown's going for a 2-2. Good. Well, I fancy that 2-2. 2-1 for Lion the Blue. I think again that could possibly happen. Hear what Chap said earlier. I think there's every chance we could probably go and snatch something for way it there. Cardi's going for 1-1. Cardi, I'm with you. I'm going for 1-1 as well. Any more before we wrap up? No, I think we're about there, Mick. I think we're running out of time, haven't we?
That's it. Don't forget, if you do want to get involved in the second series of Who Are You, where you can pick a member of us, or it'll be Stephen, who will give you the 20 Millwall questions. We're starting filming that for the upcoming season, so do drop us a DM or drop Stephen a DM or drop us an email at thatmillwallpodcast.co.uk. And yeah, just watch our shows out there. Remember, if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe, because it does help us more than you possibly can imagine. And there are some obviously big channels out there with Millwall for whatever reason. So yeah, there is a load of people subscribing. So please just give us a subscribe too. Check us out across socials, and if you're not already following Joe, give Joe a follow too. Make his day, make his weekend.
As long as
500 followers over the weekend.
Me, that's fine. Yeah,
he loves that.
I'm joking. You can mind.
So yeah, thanks, Joe. I take it you're going to be back next week, are you?
Yeah, possibly. I think me and Chaps are both down to doing it. Obviously, we've got permission off the our other halves to make sure that they're okay. I've got to shoot off now and watch a bit of Netflix with. I'm watching the Arnold Netflix with her. I don't know whether you've seen it, Mickey, yet.
Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. No,
yeah,
it's supposed to be good though.
I'm going to watch that with her now. Keep her sweet, keep her happy, and yeah, look forward to tomorrow's game. Let's hope we get a good performance. You know, win, draw, lose. Let's hope the boys give it their all, and yeah, we go out there and do the business.
No worries. I'll be back live on Sunday because I'm out Saturday night, so we'll be back live on Sunday with a space. So yeah, or we might do it on YouTube. We'll let you know. So yeah, we'll see you then. Hopefully after our first win of the upcoming season. I'll allow you press the button then, Joe.
To end it.
Yeah.
Okay. So there, guys. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
There you go, Joe.